Let me tell you a story about Bernard Madoff, who ran the biggest Ponzi in history, and how a single stroke of a pen by Bill Clinton began a small crack in his $65 billion scam. Let me explain. So, this is Bernard, or Bernie as he was often called. He was born in 1938 in Brooklyn, New York. He grew up in a middle class Jewish family. His dad was a plumber and a stockbroker. Okay? He had a college degree in political science, then went on to law school only to drop out after a year. He was just a regular guy. But Bernie? He doesn't want to be just any regular dude. He had big dreams and aspiration. During his high school days, Bernie met the love of his life, Ruth Alpern, while he was on duty as a lifeguard. He married Ruth in 1959. Then, the following year, Bernie used all his savings, about 5,000 US dollars, plus a loan from his father-in-law, about 50,000 US dollars, to open a penny stock brokerage. This was all legit. In fact, his father-in-law even referred his company to some of his inner circles, one of whom invested 100,000 US dollars. Life was good for Bernie. He had a wife and two sons, Mark and Andrew. The company is doing okay, though they were not rich by New York standard. But like I said, bro doesn't want to be just any regular dude. So, fast forward in the 90s, he pioneered the latest computer technology in the stock trading. This will later become the Nasdaq. And who was the chairman? Of course, it's none other than Bernie himself. This gave him a huge advantage against other hedge fund companies, not to mention the boost in his name and reputation. So, bro was set for life. Except, it was still not enough. You see, on this building, it's called the Lipstick Building in New York, on the 19th floor, he had a legitimate market maker company. Oh, just a quick note. Market maker is like a middleman between a buyer and seller of stocks. His two sons worked there, Mark and Andrew. So, this is what he flexed to wealthy clients on how he ran his business. But, two floors below, on the 17th floor, is where the magic happens. This is where his investment advisory company was. He would lure in investors by promising them a guaranteed return of 8 to 12% per year. But this was all fake. Nobody can make that high return year on year. According to who? To this guy. His name is Harry Markopoulos. He's the whistleblower. He even wrote a book about this. He's a math nerd who worked in Boston investment firm. One day, his boss sees Bernie's publicly declared return. He asks Harry to reverse engineer Bernie's portfolio so that they could duplicate the result. It only took Harry 5 minutes to know or to see that it was a complete BS, and only 4 hours to mathematically prove that this was all fraud. So his conclusion, either Bernie was a inside trading or it's a Ponzi scheme. So now what? He went on to SEC to raise a red flag, but he did this several times, like 5 times. Of course, Bernie has close relationship with the SEC officers, and of course, Harry's firm is a competitor, making it look like it is a malicious attempt to bring down an enemy. So sadly, his whistleblower was ignored. And so the party continued. Bernie and his family were living the life. They bought a penthouse in Manhattan, a villa in Palm Beach, yachts, art collections, and social gathering with unlimited lobsters. Wow. But here's the thing about Ponzi. You need constant cash inflow to sustain paying the early investors, right? So, the moment new cash stops coming in, you're screwed. But I guess that's not a $1 billion problem for Bernie. Just being in Palm Beach Country Club, it is impossible not to meet a single wealthy client. So one such client was Fairfield Greenwich Group. And this was a huge game changer for Bernie because Fairfield was a steroid for bringing in fresh clients. Fairfield may not directly invested, but they acted as a feeder fund for Bernie, meaning they feed Bernie with more clients from US and Europe. And Fairfield earns hundreds of millions in annual commission. Now, the pyramid grew larger and larger, reaching international market. It seems nothing can stop it from growing. Until, while this charade was ongoing, back in December 2000, President Bill Clinton signed into law the Commodity Futures Modernization Act. This law allowed financial derivatives to flourish and deregulates credit default swap. Or just watch the movie The Big Short to understand all the terminology. The collateralized debt obligation, or CDO, was born. It's just a fancy term of compiling all the loan accounts and sell them as a one single asset. It was a new darling in Wall Street. Everybody was talking about it. Big banks wanted some and giant firms wanted more. But it was a ticking time bomb.
Almost everything there completely wiped out. And the NASDAQ, everything and more has been completely wiped out.
The Dow traders are standing there watching in amazement, and I don't blame them. The credit market
676 points down.
Traders here working the phone say a lot of their customers are freaked out, waiting to see how low the Dow will go. They're focused on the Dow cut production by 1.5 million barrels per day.
Really, you're seeing just broad-based declines across all of the major technology sectors. Apple's under pressure.
Here's the problem with CDO. Banks loaned money to ninja borrowers, short for no income, no job, and no assets. Eventually, these borrowers were not able to pay back loans, making CDO becoming worthless by the day. So, financial firms started dumping it to minimize losses. It happened so fast that the fourth largest investment bank, Lehman Brothers, didn't make it. In 2008, they filed for bankruptcy with over $600 billion in debt. Every single stock in New York Stock Exchange plunged, but not just in US, all around the globe. This was later called the 2008 financial crisis. So what does this have to do with good old Bernie? Tell me. When hundreds of thousands of people lost their jobs, many businesses closed, and everyone needed cash. What's your prediction? Recession, right? So, flocks of investors wanted to withdraw their money from Bernie all at the same time. A total of $17 billion, which he didn't have. Needless to say, I think you know where this is going. So, bro confessed to his family, and they all can't believe it. Mark and Andrew decided to tell the police. Then, the next day, FBI showed up and arrested Bernie. Here's his mugshot. He knew how messed up his situation that he didn't even deny it anymore. He pled guilty to 11 counts of felony. I must say, I am impressed. He had more crimes than I had girlfriends. So then bro got sentenced to 150 years in prison. So what happened to the victims? The court appointed this guy, Irving Picard. His job was to liquidate what remains of the Madoff assets. He auctioned everything. He auctioned what he can find to return some of the money to the victims. The victims list were about 164 pages long, ranging from the Hollywood stars to retired pensioners to teachers and carpenters. Some put in their entire life savings, and some even took their own lives because of shame. But here's the unspoken and crazy part of a Ponzi pyramid. We often think that the guilty is the one on top, but the truth is the upper part of the pyramid who got more money than they put in is as guilty as the one on top, because the money they receive came from the people below them. So, and that's why Picard was also running after a couple of billionaires, Jeffrey Picower and Stanley Chase, who profited $5 billion and $1 billion respectively. To this day, the fight isn't over. And for Bernie, he died in prison in 2021 due to kidney failure. He was 82 years old.